Juicy meat, tender pancakes, and a rich broth. This is my so far best shot at Peking duck style chicken. This is a recipe I've been working on for quite a while, and I think it might just change the game for people who love to cook Chinese food at home. But this is still a work in progress and I need your help. Let me fill you in. We all know Peking duck, we all love Peking duck, but we also know that Peking duck is not something you make at home. Or is it? So while I generally agree with the assessment that Peking duck should kind of be left to the professionals, for today's video I want to conduct a little experiment. I want to create a recipe that brings all the flavors, the textures, and the experience of eating Peking duck home. And this is why, appropriately enough, I want to try to achieve all of this with a humble chicken. Always wash your hands when handling chicken. Okay, let's go. I don't know where I'm taking this chicken. Looks like I gotta do some research first. Well, it turns out making Peking duck is quite the process. No big surprise there. But I think that most of the steps can actually be replicated at home, at least to some degree. You begin by seasoning the bird with Chinese 5 spice from the inside. That's an easy one. After this though, you need to separate the chicken skin from the flesh. And in most restaurants, as well as in the recipe video I just checked out, they do that with compressed air. I don't have compressed air, but I have this. It goes in. Okay. And this was just the beginning of, let's say, unusual techniques I had to use for this recipe. Next up, I had to get my chicken to stand upright, sort of mimicking the hanging duck in a Chinese restaurant. What? This is officially getting weird now. And that was just so I could move on to the next step. Scalding the chicken with a 5 spice and soy sauce flavored brine to tighten its skin so it can crisp up later. And that actually worked surprisingly well, so I got really excited until I moved to the next step, which was the honey hoisin 5 spice glaze. Okay, this is my glaze. Let's glaze some chicken. Yeah. Uh-oh. Shit. This is not sticking. Oh, no. Same on the other side. So everything has been working out perfectly until this step. The glaze, I don't know, it just kind of won't stick to the bird. Yeah, but this will have to do for today, I think. And let me just say, it all went downhill from there. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. The glaze just wouldn't stick and the chicken came out of the oven burnt and underdone at the same time. Double whammy. And let me be honest for a second, I got very frustrated, I stopped filming and I thought it was just time to put the project back on the shelf altogether. Seriously. But then, as I was procrastinating this idea, I came across this video by French guy cooking where he debones an entire chicken. There's like this whole story to it. Yeah. Anyway, all you need to know right now is that this showed me that there is a technique that makes it possible to debone an entire chicken, to take all the bones out. Oh, and by the way, we'll talk about that deboning later on. Either way, this was the inspiration and motivation that I needed to continue with the project. So I got a new chicken, I tried to debone it, I did an alright job, I guess. I even shared that over on Patreon and it didn't look pretty at all, but let me show you what this thing looks like 24 hours later. So this is a completely deboned chicken. I trussed it up so it still holds together, and check out the skin. Really firm and rubbery. It's definitely much closer to what you would have on a duck. So this time I changed up the glaze a little bit. I added some butter, which is supposed to help the glaze stick to the meat that you're applying it to, but it didn't really help that much. I could still kind of make it work by basting the chicken every time I took it out of the oven every 15 minutes or so. I also made some of those Peking duck pancakes, which don't worry, I'll tell you in a second how to do that. And when the deboned roast chicken came out of the oven, it was just a pleasure. It's so easy and satisfying to cut into it, and the result is a super rich taste that really does remind you of Peking duck. Except for that skin. I mean, it did taste pretty good, but I still had more of a sticky glaze on the chicken rather than a Peking duck crackly skin, the thing I was going for. So I did some more research and here is my so far best shot at Peking duck chicken. Begin by deboning your chicken. I'll share my favorite instructional video on how to do that because I am definitely not the right person to teach you this, guys. But trust me, it really isn't as hard as it looks. Just be patient. You'll end up with this beautiful butterfly chicken fillet. Make sure to keep the bones, you'll see in a minute. But first, we need to poach our chicken in a brine of dark soy sauce, salt, 5-spice powder, and maltose, aka the stickiest ingredient you will ever encounter. Carefully roll your fillet and simmer for around 5 minutes. Next, place your chicken on a wired rack and pat it really dry. That's because we will give it a rub of this, a mix of salt, baking powder, and 5-spice. Generously sprinkle that over your chicken, and then we take a little shortcut, because most recipes will ask you at this stage to put your chicken in the fridge and rest it overnight. But I know you ain't got time for that, so we are putting the chicken next to a fan for around 2 hours. You can add that to the list of weird things you have to do for this recipe. So what's happening here is that the salt draws out the moisture of the chicken, the fan blows it away, and in the meantime the baking powder breaks up the skin of the chicken so it can get extra crisp later on. In the meantime, we can make our Peking duck pancakes. It's a simple wheat flour and hot water dough with a sprinkle of salt and a dash of sesame oil. We combine everything into a rough ball, then we cover that, and after 20 minutes of resting, we have a smooth dough. Roll that out into a log, divide, and working 2 at a time, roll out into little discs. Now brush one of the discs with sesame oil, place the other on top, and roll out nice and thin again. Set aside, brush with another layer of sesame oil, and repeat for all your dough balls. Now get a heavy skillet hot and fry your double pancake stacks one at a time until a few golden spots appear on both sides. Keep them under a kitchen towel so the steam keeps them soft and they will come apart very easily and be thin and nice and chewy. We have not forgotten about the chicken, have we? By now it should have dried out considerably and the skin should have a leathery feel to it. We make a glaze with soy sauce, hoisin sauce, 5-spice, and maltose. Have I mentioned how sticky this shit is? Do you see this? It's like I'm getting closer to the glaze sticking to the chicken with every attempt, but I'm still not there. Anyway, this guy goes into the oven for 20 minutes at 180 Celsius. And make sure to roast the bones along with it. I'm telling you, we'll need them. After 20 minutes, get your chicken out and baste it with the rendered chicken fat and some glaze. Repeat that twice, only with 10 minutes of roasting, and then return your chicken to the oven for a last 10-minute roast. But before we can cut into it, we actually need to rest it for a little bit, which is just perfect to get to them bones. That's right, we are making Peking duck chicken soup. Get the bones into a heavy pot, add some ginger and scallions, and cover with some water. And here's a step that's not really traditional, but I love to add some sliced corn cobs. Just adds a lot of flavor that goes really well with the soup. Also season with some salt, MSG, and a splash of Chinese cooking wine. Now cover and bring everything to a roiling boil for 20 minutes. Longer would probably be better, but we got a chicken to eat. So after 20 minutes, you should have a slightly opaque, white-ish broth that I like to quickly strain and add in some blanched tofu, the corn that has been sitting in the broth before, and some sliced Napa cabbage. You'll want to serve this with some soaked mung bean noodles and then enjoy the infinite comfort of Peking duck chicken soup. This is pretty much all you need. Slice your chicken and enjoy it the Peking duck way, with some sliced cucumber, leek, and sauce. The sauce is basically just the drippings of the chicken in the pan. So here's the thing, I think it tastes fabulous, but I still think I could get even closer to the Peking duck experience. And this is where I need your guys' valuable help. Most of all, I'm still not happy with the skin. How do I get it crackly and crispy? And secondly, chicken compared to duck has a pretty light aroma. I wonder if I can make the chicken taste a little bit more complex, a little bit deeper, a little bit more gamey. Do you have any suggestions? There is room for improvement. Let's brainstorm together, guys. Please leave your ideas and suggestions in the comments below. I cannot wait to hear them. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you never ever miss my weekly food inspiration videos from all over the world. And as always, my eternal gratitude goes out to all the people supporting me over on Patreon. You guys really are what keeps me motivated. Thank you. So thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Andong and I hope to see you in the next video.